Are you caring for an aging parent and quietly wondering how much longer you can keep on going like this? There may come a moment when love is still there, but your energy is not. That moment can feel confusing, it can feel heavy, and for many caregivers, it brings up guilt. If that sounds familiar, I want you to know something right away. Needing a break does not mean that you have failed. In this video, I want to explain what respite really means, why it can feel emotionally complicated, and how families can begin in a way that feels safer and less overwhelming. One thing we often see is that caregiving can slowly take over the relationship. You may still be a close family member or even a friend, but day by day, the care tasks can start to become the center of every interaction. Over time, it can feel like the relationship you had before caregiving is getting buried underneath the responsibilities. Respite can help create some space for that relationship again. Welcome to the Art of Aging, where we celebrate life moment by moment, living, caring, and being present through every stage. I'm Sherry Gibson-Walters, certified professional consultant on aging and founder of Harmony Caregiving. At Harmony, we've helped over 1,000 families across Edmonton, and we have seen this again and again. The caregivers who feel the most guilty are often the ones who have been carrying the most. So let's define respite first. Respite care means day, evening, or overnight care that gives an unpaid caregiver, usually a family member, a break from caregiving. This allows someone else to safely step in so the unpaid caregiver can rest, recover, or take care of other parts of life. And that break can look different for every family. The key point is this: respite provides planned support that helps the caregiving process become more sustainable. It gives the caregiver room to rest, recover, and return with more patience and clarity. And for many families, that relief can also help them return to the relationship underneath the care as a daughter, a son, a spouse, or a loved one, instead of a caregiver managing every task. So here's the part families often miss. Respite may sound practical on paper, but emotionally it can touch something much deeper. Many caregivers are not only tired, they are grieving while they're still caregiving. They may be grieving the gradual changes in their parent, the loss of the relationship as it used to be, the role reversal of becoming the person who now has to manage decisions and daily needs. They may be grieving future moments that they thought that they would have, or watching personality changes that are painful to name out loud. For families supporting someone living with dementia, that grief can begin long before the person is physically gone. This is sometimes called anticipatory grief. It's the grief that happens when you're already feeling loss while still showing up every day. And when grief, exhaustion, responsibility, and love are all tangled together, the idea of respite can feel complicated. A caregiver may know they need rest, but still feel guilty for needing it. They may know the care has become too much for one person, but still feel like asking for help says something about their love or commitment. That is why this conversation matters. Needing respite and asking for help can sometimes feel like a personal failure because caregiving is such a deeply emotional and complex situation. But it does not mean you have failed, and it does not mean that love is missing. It simply means the situation has changed, and one person may no longer be able to carry it all alone. Sometimes that change happens slowly: a little more help with meals, more reminders, more appointments, more worry at night, more interrupted sleep, more decisions that are sitting on your shoulders. And then one day you realize that your whole life has quietly reorganized itself around caregiving. At Harmony, we have sat with many families at this exact point. Adult children will say, "I don't want my parent to think I'm giving up on them." And asking for help is not giving up. Often, it is actually what allows you to keep showing up with more patience, more steadiness, and more love. This is where guilt gets loud, because guilt often says, if you really loved them, you would do it all yourself. But that's not true. Love does not require one person to become the entire care system. Another fear families have is, what happens if something happens while I take a break? Let's say an adult daughter has been caring for her mom for months. She finally arranges respite. She rests for the first time in a long time, and then her mom has a difficult week afterwards. Maybe she seems more confused, and immediately the daughter thinks, this is my fault. That guilt can be incredibly heavy. But a hard truth is this: aging, illness, and dementia can change even when families are doing everything right. Respite does not mean that you caused a decline. Sometimes guilt tries to connect dots that may not belong together. Of course, if you notice a sudden change in your loved one's health or behavior, it is important to speak with an appropriate healthcare professional. But emotionally, I want caregivers to hear this. You are allowed to need rest while your loved one is aging. Now let's make this practical, because another common worry is my parent will never accept a stranger in the house. And honestly, that may be true at first. Many older adults resist help because they are not just reacting to the person at the door, they're actually reacting to what the help represents. To your parents, outside help may feel like a loss of privacy, a loss of control, a sign that their independence is slipping, or a fear that decisions are being made around them instead of with them. So the way we introduce respite matters. If it is introduced during a crisis or framed as something that has already been decided, it can feel threatening. But when respite is introduced slowly, respectfully, and with room for the person's voice, it can feel very different. The first conversation does not have to be about making a permanent care plan. It can simply be about exploring what support could look like, who they might feel comfortable with, and how to make the first step feel safe. The goal at the beginning is not to force acceptance. The goal is to build familiarity, trust, and a sense of choice. At Harmony, the first step is a free in-home consultation. That consultation gives us a chance to sit with the family, listen to what is happening, and understand both sides of the care picture, what your loved one needs and what you, as the primary caregiver, are carrying. It can also help with the conversations that feel hard to have on your own. Concerns about independence, worries about accepting help, and questions about what kind of support would actually feel comfortable. That first meeting becomes a bridge, a way to begin carefully, respectfully, and with everyone feeling more informed. I want to mention spouses too. For a spouse caring for someone living with dementia, respite can feel especially tender. A husband might think, if I leave for a weekend, am I breaking my promise? But sometimes a break is what allows him to come back not only as the caregiver, but as the husband again. When families are unsure where to begin, we often encourage starting small. A few short, planned visits can help everyone ease into the experience and begin building familiarity and trust over time. Before care begins, it can be helpful to share the details that make your loved one feel most comfortable: their routines, their preferences, their personality, what helps them feel calm, and what tends to create stress or confusion. Afterward, families can reflect on what worked well and what could be adjusted moving forward. Respite is rarely an all or nothing decision. It is something that can grow gradually and evolve alongside your family's needs. If you are feeling overwhelmed, stretched thin, or emotionally exhausted, you are not alone. Here in Edmonton and across Alberta, many families are quietly navigating the growing realities of caregiving. As people live longer with dementia and chronic illness, family caregivers are often balancing far more than care alone. Careers, parenting, marriages, finances, and their own health all continue alongside the responsibilities of caregiving. Researchers like Dr. Jasneet Parmar and Dr. Sharon Anderson at the University of Alberta are helping shift the conversation by recognizing that dementia does not only affect the person living with the diagnosis, it affects the entire caregiving ecosystem. Their work continues to emphasize the importance of earlier support, caregiver education, and respite before families reach a point of crisis. You can learn more through the Caregiver Centered Care Initiative at the University of Alberta. Please do not wait until you are completely depleted before reaching for support. Respite can help protect not only the well-being of the caregiver, but the health of the relationships surrounding the care journey as well. If your family has started wondering what support could look like, Harmony Caregiving is here to help you explore your options. You do not need to have everything figured out before reaching out. Sometimes the first step is simply saying, "This is what has been happening, and we could use some support." If you are in the Edmonton area, we would be honored to walk alongside your family and help you determine what feels right for your situation. Thank you for joining me for The Art of Aging. If this episode resonated with you, please follow, share, or leave a review. These conversations help other families feel less alone and more supported as they navigate aging and caregiving. Until next time, seize the day, embrace the moment. Carpe diem.